We often assume that beneath the bravest exterior lies a kind and compassionate soul. But the harsh reality is that some people use aggression and anger to mask a deep-seated vulnerability they are desperate to keep hidden. This defense mechanism, rooted in a deep-seated fear of being seen as weak, causes some individuals to project a forceful image on the outside, while seething with insecurity and self-doubt on the inside. If you've ever met someone who seemed to take pleasure in tearing others down, only to reveal a fragile, hurt child when the mask slips, you're not alone. Chances are you've witnessed this phenomenon firsthand, and it's more prevalent than you think. In this video, let's delve into the psyche of individuals who employ this calculated strategy, and uncover the underlying emotions and psychological forces that drive them to conceal their vulnerability behind a facade of aggression. When we present ourselves as strong, we're attempting to create a sense of control that can be comforting in a world where so little is within our grasp. People often don't realize that aggression can be a coping mechanism for deep-seated fear, a way to push others away before they can see the weakness we're desperate to keep hidden. Behind the facade of strength lies a profound insecurity, a driving need for validation that often takes the form of aggressive behavior in an attempt to avoid genuine connection. In our pursuit of power and status, we may try to convince ourselves that we're invincible, but the truth is that our ego is constantly desperate for external validation to prove its worth. Faking strength serves as a defense mechanism, a shield that protects our vulnerable selves from potential rejection and heartache, which can be incredibly crippling to our self-esteem. What we're really seeking, often unconsciously, is a sense of belonging and connection, and we may resort to aggressive posturing in the misguided belief that this is the only way to earn respect and love from others. When we mask our aggression, we're not necessarily showcasing strength, but rather a desperate attempt to conceal the cracks in our armor, to prevent others from seeing the vulnerability that lies beneath. The true intention of masked aggression isn't to dominate or control, but to deflect attention from our own insecurities, to keep people at bay and prevent them from witnessing our genuine emotional pain. By projecting confidence and aggression, we attempt to regain control over our lives, to assert our dominance and superiority in a world where we feel uncertain and powerless. But beneath the facade of aggression, a subtle cry for validation resonates, a desperate plea for recognition and acceptance from others, to validate our own worth and sense of identity. In reality, masked aggression is often a misguided attempt to attract others, to draw them in with a display of faux confidence and strength, to hide our true selves from the world, and yet, paradoxically, to be seen and accepted for who we are. And so we continue to hide behind our masks, fueled by fear, driven by the terror of being exposed and rejected, and trapped in a self-perpetuating cycle of deception, where our masks only serve to further our own self-deception and reinforce the very insecurities we're trying so desperately to conceal. When we see aggression in childhood, it's often a thin facade shielding the child's vulnerability. Deep down, that same aggressive behavior in adulthood can be a desperate attempt to validate their sense of worth and avoid feeling powerless. People hide behind aggression because it's a way to gain control, especially when they feel a lack of validation from others, which is a fundamental human need. What drives individuals to hide behind this guise of strength? Often, it's rooted in fear of being seen as weak, fear of being taken advantage of, and fear of being left behind. When our vulnerability is exposed, we're forced to confront our insecurities, which can be an overwhelming and debilitating experience. But the question remains, what's the real motive behind this charade? Is it to attract others, to elevate our status, or simply to conceal our true selves? It's interesting to note how often we deceive ourselves, believing our masked aggression is a sign of strength when, in reality, it's often an admission of our own vulnerability. When people refuse to confront their true weaknesses, they are not just hiding from failure, they are actually protecting their fragile ego from the risk of being proven incorrect. By faking strength and aggression, individuals are desperately seeking validation from others, hoping to silence their own self-doubt and anxiety through external affirmation. Their aggressive facade acts as a shield, a psychological fortress that prevents them from genuinely connecting with others and experiencing the vulnerability that's essential for deep relationships. What often lies beneath this masked aggression is a deep-seated fear of being seen as weak or vulnerable, a fear that stems from past traumas or experiences where openness was exploited or ridiculed. This self-deception becomes a vicious cycle, as individuals become addicted to their image of strength, continuing to feed their ego through external validation and avoiding the risk of being exposed as vulnerable in order to maintain control. In reality, this desperate quest for validation is a cry for help, a plea for genuine connection and understanding. But beneath the bravado and aggression, most people are secretly struggling to reconcile their own insecurities and sense of inadequacy. Faking strength has become a pervasive coping mechanism for many, allowing them to temporarily deflect from the vulnerability that lies beneath. By donning the armor of aggression, individuals attempt to reclaim control over their lives, but in doing so, they inevitably push away the very connections that could help them heal. Deep down, many of those who fake strength struggle with shame, insecurity, and an overwhelming fear of being rejected or seen as weak. They often mask their true emotions behind a facade of assertiveness to garner validation from others, to be seen as confident or attractive. What's fascinating is that this self-deception can become so ingrained, it can lead individuals to confuse their fake strength with their true identity, effectively imprisoning themselves in a cycle of self-doubt and disconnection. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of how we sometimes hide behind masks of aggression to shield our vulnerability. Remember, true strength often lies in our willingness to be vulnerable, and by acknowledging this dynamic, we can begin to break free from the constraints of pretending to be something we're not. If you found this insightful, be sure to like this video and share your observations in the comments below, and if you want more thought-provoking content on the human psyche, hit that subscribe button.